Hello, I'm Nino Pavlenishvili, an associate professor of political science at Ilia State University. Um, it's an honor to be today with you and participate in the conference. I will present my research on central state versus regional autonomy, political elites action strategy, and I will show how the elites action strategy works in Tatarstan and Chechnya, the autonomous republics of Russian Federation. Academic scholarship on the factors of secessionism states that when the countries with the ethnic cleavages obtain independence after historical junctures like decolonization, collapse of empire, revolutions, regime change, interstate wars, and etc., declared transition to democracy, they face undesired activation of ethnic movements straight away. Lack of communication between the central state and the regional autonomy tenses inter-ethnic interactions. Now, the process of democratization plays the role of a powerful trigger of ethnic secessionism. Minorities perceive democratic reforms and the popular elections as an additional instrument of oppression in hands of politically dominated ethnic groups. They deprive the cleavages from the political, economic, and social life. The end of Soviet Union was an eminent historical juncture that gave a strong impetus to a new wave of ethnic self-determination in the former Soviet republics, and the Russian Federation was not an exception. The process of self-determination of the ethnic minorities in the autonomous republics of Russian Federation underwent differently in the distinct autonomous units, and the outcomes were drastically different as well. Scholarship indicates that the factors influencing eruption of nationalistic movements were diverse. In this presentation, I will try to show the reasons having an influence on the political elites' decision-making processes, namely the selection of specific action strategies by the autonomous leadership and reaction tactic repertoire of the central state authority. Exploring the action dynamics in two autonomies, Tatarstan and Chechnya, and the elite relations of central state and autonomous republics in 90s and 2000s is the purpose of the conducted comparative analysis. Both autonomous entities, Tatarstan and Chechnya, pressed claims for independence after dismantling of the Soviet Union. Although the regional leaders exploited unlike election strategies and reached different outcomes, Tatarstan's peaceful actions brought back autonomous status with full-fledged packages of political, economic, and societal rights. Chechnya, on its way to full separation, entered the severe military confrontation with the central authority. The bloody conflict prolonged almost a decade and ended with the significant civil casualties along with a destruction of military capabilities on both sides. The spectrum of the reasons inspiring ethnic groups to separate is broad and multicolored. Solving ethnic identity confrontation with peaceful negotiations is a tough task. Anticipated shift in status quo increases autonomous residents' fear of insecurity. Lowering sovereignty, infringing the borders, worsening the group's living standard, and so on. Among the leading factors of the future confrontation between the central state and attack are geographic location, historical memory and experience of coexistence of ethnic groups, political leaders and their strategies, the level of economic development, education, and so on. There are two major theoretical schools, primordial and constructivist, that attempt to identify the causes of inter-ethnic contestation. Primordialism accentuates the characteristics of the distinct ethnic group, markers formed by the same type of living environment, culture, rites and rituals, traditions, language, religion, and grounded on them, the group develops the institutional structures to conduct collective actions on the territory that historically belongs to the particular ethnic minority. A collective name, a common myth of descent, a shared history, a distinct culture, linkage to the territory, a sense of solidarity are the six markers that enable groups to set their own institutions and mobilize easily. Constructivism, on the contrary, rejects the notion of ascribed attributes. They apply ethnic boundary instead of cultural features. Nigel thinks that ethnic identities are constructed out of material of language, religion, culture, appearance of the originality, and the meaning of particular distinct boundaries are constantly negotiated, revised, and revitalized. Dunn and Fraser suggests replacement of ethnic by the linguistic and or religious communities. Other scholarships they demonstrate controversial findings. Some say something that politically and economically backwards are more prone to separation, whereas the others believe that the advanced groups try to separate faster. The gap in education is one of the major factors that causes the ethnic confrontation. Non-existence of cross-cutting cleavages is among those controversial findings. Geographical location in terms of the neighboring state with its geostrategic interests can become one of the main factors that can initiate the ethnic confrontation. Among these controversial findings is the autonomy. Autonomy is one of the powerful motive and the mean for secessionism. Its functional political-economic institutions create the ground for ethnic to conduct collective action. Sharing border with adjacent kin state makes even tenser the ethnics aim to separate. They ask the support from the neighboring state in any terms. It can be tacit or it can be military means. The role of political leaders in initiation of the conflict is significant. They are assumed to be carriers of the group's collective memory, and as the carriers of the collective memory and the preferences of the group, they try to utilize constructivist approaches as well as the primordialist markers to mobilize the group and achieve their main goal, separation or to start the peaceful negotiation. So in the present research, I try to outline three main factors that can be reasons for initiating the ethnic clashes. This is the geographic location, sharing the border with another state versus the heartland of the location, introduction of constructivist inscriptions or the primordialist markers or vice versa in hands of the political elite, and the third, this is the structural situation in and out of the state or autonomy that influences the political elite's decision-making process. The research is done by the qualitative methodology. This is comparative case study analysis of two autonomous republics of RF. Semi-structured interviews are conducted, 25. Tatar, Chechen, and Russian respondents participated in the interviews. Their age is above 50, and they were picked with the purpose to interview the people who had not only the knowledge of the field but as well witnessed the events underwent in the 90s and 2000s in Tatarstan and Chechnya. Process tracing was utilized to explore the dynamics of the events in the two autonomous republics of RF from 1990s to 2007. Now let's start with the case study of Tatarstan. Tatarstan was first conquered in 16th century. Later on, with the annexation of the eastern lands of Russia, it became the heartland of Russian Federation. From the annexation of Tatarstan, Russian rulers tried to Russify the Tatars and Christianize them, and all these processes were undergone with the repressive politics. The Tatars were repressed in all terms, politically and economically. At the same time, the Russian rulers started the migration of Russian ethnic to the Tatar land. In 1920s of 1920s of the 20th century, the Bolshevik Russia, with the leader of the Lenin, who declared the self-determination of ethnic minorities, the Tatar land got the autonomous status, though in 30s the status was depleted as with this consolidation of Stalin's power. But 1990s became when the Soviet Union dismantled, and Tatarstan appeared to be still the part of the Soviet Union, the Russian Federation, and it started pressing the claim straight away for the independence. The Tatarstan's first president, Sheymiev, instrumentalized a mixture of primordial and constructivist features. Autonomy's ethnic composition, common history, and peaceful co-development of Tatar and Russian ethnic make possible to not only to regain the lost status, but also to press the claims for upgrading the political-economic rights of the region. The religious differences did not undermine amicable coexistence of these two ethnic groups. The Russian and Tatar cultures, by the 1990s, the Russian and Tatar cultures were significantly integrated in the Volga region. The central state attempted to compel the local authority to step back and take away the claims of separation. In response, the Sheymiev led the boycott against Moscow. The majority of population refused to participate in Russia's presidential election held the same year, and the majority of the population supported the local political leaders. And in the referendum for separation, they backed the Sheymiev and were for the independence of Tatarstan. Even though the claim was for independence, Sheymiev and the other political leaders were fully aware that that was just the highest demand, but their main goal was upgrading political, economic, and societal rights of autonomous republic. The Tatar politicians' calculus was grounded on the moderate bargaining strategy. They reckoned the new reality, emergence of unprecedented chance for the region, which is rich with natural resources and industrial capabilities. It gave them the ability and capability to broaden its political economic rights. That the messages sent to center were well reasoned and they were not radical, not to accept. The successful referendum on the status of the Volga region was a clear evidence that the residents of Tatarstan, the Russians and the Tatars, the both ethnic groups, they supported the political elite. Despite ethnic belonging, the majority of the Tatarstan population backed the idea of independence. The Kremlin lost backing of the local Russians in the region. It was the right moment for Sheymiev to press the claims for upgrading the status. He made the Kremlin sign a special bilateral agreement, which was the victory of the region, and gave to the autonomy the unprecedented rights that were not given to other autonomous republics of Russian Federation. At this moment, it has to be said that Moscow was deeply engaged in military confrontation with Chechnya, and that was also the a trump card for Sheremeyev. He wisely pondered that initiation of a new violent conflict could cause unforeseen problems for the central government inside and outside. Outside, Yeltsin's aim was to gain the financial support from the international community. That's why starting a new violent confrontation in another autonomous republics would be a big mistake. In sum, the Tatarstan was the case that the autonomous political elite instrumentalized primordial and constructivist approaches to achieve the goal. The geographic location being heartland, ethnic composition, and historically well-developed relationships worked also on hands of the Tatar political elite. Now, the second case is Chechnya. Chechnya became the part of Russian Empire in 19th century, and this annexation was done by the violent means. Conquering of Chechen land proceeded with harsh repression. It was called the genocide through forced exodus. There was a process of exiling of local mountaineers, so-called mountaineers, to Ottoman Empire, and by this the ethnic composition of the region was changed significantly. Later on, Stalin's deportation policy in 1940s and the gradual alteration of ethnic composition of the region was very notable. During the Soviet Empire and after its dismantle, the picture was like this. There were two ethnies, Russians and the locals, Chechens, and there was a deep gap between these two ethnic groups. The differences was notable in political, economic activities and the social activities as well. In early 1990s, when the central state institutions weakened, it became the signal for to Chechen nationalists to start movement for independence. The reaction of the Kremlin first was mild and tentative because the country was facing the devastating economic situation and the ethnic revivals in another autonomous republics as well. But later on, as soon as the negotiations with Tatarstan were over and geographic location of Chechnya, which was also the quite decisive for the Kremlin to make the decision to start the violent means. In 1994, started the Russian militaries. They crossed the borders of the Chechnya, and the first Chechen war started. At the same time, it has to be mentioned that unlike Tatarstan, where the civic nationalism was formed, in Chechnya, because of the historical memory, which was still live, and because of the homogeneity of Chechen ethnic group, and at the same time the making the Russian residents to leave autonomous republic caused military and clashes between these two groups, making the situation in the region unstable, unstable and insecure. So, in sum, the Chechnya's fight for independence is a case of the violent strategy, and the decision was made for the violence was made because of its geographic location, because of the historical memory, and because of the situation inside and out. So the winning the Chechnya and making it come back to Russian Federation was the major decision made by a Kremlin authority to show to other autonomous republics inside that it has the power to repress ethnic movements in autonomous republic, and outside to show the other states that Russia is still a superpower. So, and the concluding remarks, the research was focused on three factors: geographical location, sharing border Chechnya, and we see that that was decisive for the Kremlin to start the military operations, and the heartland Tatarstan, whereas when Tatar political elite decides not to start a radical fight with the center just because it's in heartland and there is no way to separate from the state. Historical memory, harsh repressive ethnic politics of Chechnya, it was decisive for the Chechen political elite to respond to the Russia's aggression toward the Chechen Autonomous Republic, and a longer peaceful coexistence of Tatarstan when the Russian ethnic backed the Tatar political elite. And the political elite that according to those, the other two factors, creates ethnic nationalism, case of Chechnya, or the civic nationalism, case of Tatarstan. And the structural factor, the international arena, is also important because the Russian Federation, that used to be the superpower in the form of the Soviet Union, tried to still bring back its past glory, and start the transition to democracy, to show to the West that they share the same values as the others. So these three factors these are the decisive for the political elite to change the action strategies and decide what to start, peaceful negotiations or the violent means to achieve their own goals. That's it. Thank you very much.